Hey everybody, it's Bust with Expedition Trial number 396. Sorry we've been a little bit slow on these, but I've been trying to get some stuff together for the release of the new set here in 2 days from this video comes out, and so uh, kind of is what it is. I feel like we've really kind of explored everything there is to explore in the Empires of the Ascended limited format. Kind of ready for the new cards to shake things up, anyways. I'm getting really kind of tired of the amount of Vigio Shyvana showing up and the amount of action Riven showing up. I am really glad that they do that, that they up the offering bonus the first week that the card pools are out, but I can't tell now if they've either forgotten to take the offering bonus off, because we do like run into these champions over half of the games we're playing in Expedition, or if they did drop it off, but the card pools are so overtuned that just as a function of the cream rising to the top, these better decks from both of those two card pools are just showing up in frequency because their win rate's so high. I'm not sure which which answer I would like to be the correct one. Excuse me, but I feel like one of those things has been what is happening here. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and jump into this trial. With this pick, I'm going to be taking Trundle. I don't know the last time we drafted Trundle, but it has been ages ago. And so we can get this Otherworldly Creatures Trundle pulled up. I know we've touched on Gangplank here recently. This Soraka card pool I will not touch with a 10-foot pole. This is just an abysmally terrible card pool. So we can take the Trundle here with the Reaver and the Wolf Rider. So we're just going to get them pulled up here on ftpbus.com. We're just going to be over on the main page. We'll scroll down to the bottom of it to this little drop-down box, make our way to Trundle and Otherworldly Creatures. And so yeah, this pairs up with Aurelian Soul, and this is a super bloated high rolly card pool. It was quite good ages ago before they came in and added a ton of cards to it, and they nerfed Trundle. But at the release of Call of the Mountain, this was one of the premier card pools that you could have access to. And there's kind of like two problems I have with it, and just these abilities on the whole. Kind of the problem that you'll run into with Ramp is what do you do with Catalyst of the Aeons on the 8th turn of the game, right? It just doesn't do anything. I guess technically on turn 8, it will ramp you 1 mana, but these cards are incredibly high rolly. If you draw them in the early stages of the game, they're great. If you draw them in the late game, they are pretty terrible. And so just by design, they are quite high rolly cards. And then this card pool also features the Behold theme, and the card that is probably my most hated card in the game. You see things like Faces of the Old Ones, to where if you behold an 8-cost card, then you get some kind of bonus. And so, to a degree, I'm okay with playing like one or two cards this expensive. Ideally, you would just be able to generate these expensive cards with things like Trundle, where Trundle comes into play and generates the Ice Pillar. And so you have to make these like really weird deck building decisions if you want to reasonably hit these beholds, as to where, okay, well, how many of these expensive cards do I play before it's too many? I can't get my hand clogged up, but if I don't have them in my deck, then half of my deck doesn't activate. It's just another complete section of high rolling, and I like to avoid these things like the Plague. I think these abilities are A, not fun, and B, just not paying off enough when they do work, as opposed to the times when things go wrong with them. And so that's at least what this pool is trying to do, right? It's ramp cards and behold, but we're not going to pursue that. The things that I really like to do out of these Trundle card pools is to just go for the overwhelms. And so you'll have like Trundle, Wolf Rider. Down in the rares, you have the likes of your Scar Maiden Reavers, just this kind of standard Frey Lord overwhelming style deck. And then to a degree, it does have a lot of these regenerates in it, so you can do some of the self-damage things. That's how this deck is supposed to get to the late game, using cards like Avalanche and Ember Maiden to do a bunch of AoEs that your units will then heal off. Not a strategy I like to pursue either, but something that we can do. So, that's what we'll be looking for here. We're just kind of looking towards the overwhelm strategy. Then the last thing to call out is there are quite a few good epics in this. Freylord just far and away has the best epics in the game, and this has some quite good ones here. And Fuel the Rush and the Tusk Raider, and then War Mother's Call should be okay in this style of deck that tends to have a little bit more top end to it. But not a bad start to the Overwhelms. We'll see if we can't assist a little bit with it. And let's see. So there is not a lot of good choices here. I can look to Tarek. Uh, that is where I immediately went to. Startled Stomper, of course, has Overwhelm. You can pick up Zenith Blades that can pass out Overwhelms as well. Bastion can be used to protect some of our expensive investments. This could be a thing. Over here with the Teemo, this isn't like the strongest of combos, but if we're able to assemble some of the plunder cards, then you can pair up Teemo's Puff Caps with the plunders to try and hit plunders on your opponent's turn. This is more of a Sejuani theme as opposed to a Trundle theme, but something we could look towards. And then down here in the Time Lord Zilean, it's not really a build around strategy. Just having predicts, there's not enough payoff cards as far as predicts are concerned. But we can come across cards like Ruin Runner, which plays fantastically towards an Overwhelm centric deck. And so it's so awkward. I don't want to be playing The Time Has Come, but I feel like Zilean is our best choice out of all of these. There's just not a whole lot of cards out of Targon that I'd really be looking for here. And then if we do want to say like pivot and build around Tarek, there's not any really good combat tricks out of Freylord to pair with him. Like you like Troll Chant is your premier one, but it doesn't work. You have things like +3/+3 to a damaged unit, but you got to have the damage on Tarek to be able to play it. It's all just kind of awkward, and so I think we're kind of stuck just taking the Zilean here, just because I don't think the Tarek will work. We don't have any plunder cards available to us in this card pool, so we're just kind of left with the kind of supporting Zilean role here. So let's get him pulled up as well. There were a couple things I was wanting to take a peek at here. If there was any interactivity, I was pretty sure that there wasn't, but I mean, there's Scrying Sands as a pretty good combat trick, and then Spirit Fire is a decent late game one-of card. But otherwise, Xenotype Researchers, I'm always excited to have copies of. These can play quite well in an Overwhelm strategy. If you spike the +3/+3 on a big unit, and then otherwise it's just some kind of quality dudes here in Kahiri and Chronomancer, and so that's where we're really going to be lacking in this trial. I think is we're going to have to kind of go out of our way to pick up vulnerables, pick up Siphoning Strike. Siphoning Strike is interesting with Trundle, and then it can help him grow, but we're definitely going to be weak in that sense that we don't have ways to really come out here and interact with our opponent's units. And okay, this is kind of an interesting one here in the Clock Hand. It's kind of weak in that it doesn't have Overwhelm, but it does cost 8 mana, which if we are going to pick up some Behold cards throughout the course of the draft, that would be a reasonable one to do it. And then, but with it though, it does come with the Absolver, and this can grant Overwhelm, and with Trundle being one of the easier champions to flip in the game. And so I think that's what I'm going to pursue here. I just really don't want anything to do with cold resistance. The predict cards that we have here aren't really like super high payoff. Really just looking for the likes of Chronomancer, Kahiri, and Xenotype Researchers. And so we'll see how things go in that direction. Okay, so interesting set. We have the Siphoning Strike, but it's paired up with the Inspired Marshal, which isn't going to be very good here. Again, we want our late game cards to all have Overwhelm, and so we're really looking to things like the Reaver, Alpha Wild Claws, not so much Inspired Marshal kind of cards. So that kind of sucks, but then otherwise we're just looking down here and we got like this ramp card that we don't really want. Star Tip Peaked and Moondreamers are good for generating invokes, but it's not really the late game I'm trying to pursue here. So I guess if we are really lacking the interactivity, we should be okay to just take Siphoning Strike. Hopefully we can trade away the Marshal at some point. Okay, alrighty. Well, in that same vein, we have a Avarosian Sentry with an Avalanche. A lot of our early game play should be able to survive avalanches between Chronomancers, the various 3/3s. I think it will be okay here. The card I wanted the most out of these was a Safecracker, but I want nothing to do with this Sandstone Chimera. Okay. So yeah, here's a Alpha Wildclaw is kind of the late game we are looking for, but we're not going to have any combos with this Reaver. We don't have any ways to deal damage to it outside of playing Avalanches. And so I'm just going to pick up the Rockhopper and the Ancient Preparations. At least with the Preparations, it makes it a little bit easier to flip Kahiris if they do make an appearance. All right, look at all these turds. So we're doing absolutely nothing with with Sand Soldiers, so that's great. We have the Faces of the Old Ones, which is just abysmally bad, and then we're good to take the Chronomancer, but we're not going to have any landmarks in our deck, so hopefully we can trade out this Curator and not get held back by it too much. Okay, then these cards are terrible. another set of just bad ones. It's like out of all of these, I'd like to have the Three Sisters, but Succumb to the Cold is pretty terrible. Maybe we should just be looking to take Shape Stone, and then I think this is what we're stuck doing because I'm okay with Inner Sanctum. If this was like Shape Stone Inner Sanctum, I'd be pretty okay with it since we can pass out Overwhelms and like Challengers and such. Like the double with the deck with the big units, the double Lucky Finds can be quite good, but don't really want ricochets here. I don't think we're ever going to activate it. But maybe we need that bit of interactivity. Trundle and stuff. Okay. that's about the right noise to make. Okay, here we go. I have a really tough time passing on these researchers. These are just quite good. Okay. Things continue. We are pretty heavy Shurima here, but if we're going to continue to take Trundles after this, the Golden Ambassador is going to fall off. And so we'll take the cheap combat trick with the Kindly Tavern Keeper here. Don't need too much of those AoEs. Okay, good. And then Ancient Preparations with Kahiri is quite strong. Troll Chance I was trying to see if we could make some usage out of, but we don't have too many Overwhelms. It's just the Reaver and Trundle at this point. Does Trundle still have it? Okay, I knew Trundle got a lot of nerfs, since I wasn't sure if that was one of them. Okay. Well, I think with this pack, we're probably going to have to go for the top end. We're just not going to be able to make real usage out of Grappling Hook in this deck. We don't have enough targets. Then again, like the Curator, Soothsayer are just trash, so at least Harsh Winds is a quality spell. And, well, Yetis, you are too far gone. So here with these, if we're going to take an Ancient Preparations, I want the one with the Preservarium. And our last pick, kind of interesting. There is the interactive element in the Stalking Wolf. Payday is just too bad, though. Payday and Clockwork Curator are pretty terrible units. I am kind of interested in the Vagabond. Generating the Warlord's Palaces is still quite good, but I think we're just here with the Stalking Wolf Fury of the North. Okay, so I'm happy to trade off both The Time Has Come and the Curator. Neither of these are particularly good. I'd ideally be able to trade the Curator for the Augur, but that's not a choice. I think we'll just trade out The Time Has Come. The Augur is the one I'm looking for here. We didn't really stack up as much late game as I want. I was hoping to pick up kind of like 2 or 3 Alpha Wildclaw kind of units, or even just like an Usgar. Didn't quite get there. We have some of the bigger units up top, so I'm not like upset. This isn't one of these decks where it's like, well, we're just drafting Trundles, so we're not going to draft any top end, but I think I want like a little bit more by adding in this Augur. Okay, we do have to go turn something premium. I know as far as like Freylord goes, the Behold units are all that's left, I think, right? Just the Faces of the Old Ones, Troll Scavengers. I knew that there was going to be a chance that we'd hit one of these, but I do not like those cards to any degree. So no, none of those are in our deck. As far as spells go, what do we got here? Did we took the Ricochet pack, right? Let me double check before we dive in on this Ricochet, but I'm pretty confident we took that. How do we even get here? Expeditions down to the 6. Okay, we took us a Ricochet. All right, we get to upgrade the commons today. So, welcome to the Premium Club, Ricochet. Got the Premium Sivers and the Premium Ricochets now. It's all we ever needed. So cool. So let's dive on in. Yeah, this deck is, that noise describes it reasonably enough, but I was just kind of like envisioning like a lot of the Shurima early game where just there to stall the board, and then we're able to close out with like Trundle, Ruin Runner, Alpha Wildclaw. But the top end we were looking for just didn't show up. I know we passed one Alpha Wildclaw, but we didn't see any Ruin Runners. Right, well, not a bad start. It's a little awkward to spew off all of our predicts before we play the researchers, but I think this is okay. Then I just picked up the combat trick here. Hopefully we're able to just get a shutdown on action with our Chronomancer this turn. he didn't show up, but that was the idea with that play. Just if he has action, he doesn't want to interact with the Chronomancer. And then otherwise, we should be good to start getting the researchers going. And then we've picked up a bit of interactivity with these cards as well between the Absolver that we took with our first predict and then the Siphoning Strike with our second one. Sure. Clever. Got the Shape Stone. Brittle Steel. Sure thing. Oh, we just immediately draw one. That's what it's all about. Uh-oh, he's got a Researchers now. But this is okay. This attack is good. Maybe we'll hit something else in this next predict. The Augur. He got the +3/+3 as well. Alright, well we're not going to be able to behold any 8-cost cards, but more than happy to get down an 8/8 regenerate Overwhelm here in a turn. So let's see what they do. If they just send it back to us and we bank 3, I'm reasonably okay with that, because I am wanting to tap out for the Augur this turn. Otherwise, if they spend some more mana, we could probably get a safe Siphoning Strike off. It'll take a bit of time to get all this going through. We're going to hit Reputation now. One short, but if we Siphoning Strike, we'll be Reputationed into this board of full health units. Okay. So we just go ahead and go for it. I do worry about like a Frostbite coming in here. So I think this is okay. Then we can just use, like, if he has a Flash Freeze or a Harsh Winds or something, then we can just use the Absolver to hopefully survive that combat. Cool. So yeah, there's the power of the Xenotype Researchers and just immediately drawing a +3/+3 unit. Good stuff. Okay, so the intent is to pick up more Trundles. If the card's paired up with Zilean, like if he had like another Xenotype Researchers or something, I would consider it. But this is a pretty good Trundle stack with a Sentry and an Overwhelm in it. Kind of pretty good looking there. Cool, not a bad start. Alrighty, Lee Sin with all the heals. I'm curious how these champions come together. If he started like Lee Sin, Tahm Kench, and then just picked up a Soraka, if he started like Lee Sin, Soraka, and picked up Tahm Kench, doesn't feel like you start out Tahm Kench, Soraka, and then want to add Lee Sin. It's kind of strange to see the champion set up. I'm curious. I would assume that this is probably a healing build around type strategy though. Right, let's go ahead and get the Researchers. We'll get our boy Zilean down as well. I don't think a bank this turn seems that good. I mean, I guess we could just add Stalking Wolf, right? And then save our predicts for the future. Okay, seems good. Don't think we need to add Kahiri. I mean, depending on what he does, but I think at 3/3 will be good enough on this board. Now, this can potentially be awkward. Maybe we should have taken down the Krusty Codger, just in the sense that if he plays a healing card like Spring Gifts, then it's going to get more value. But I think this is okay. This board still doesn't interact super well with Kahiri. Let's see if he has a Tahm Kench. But my idea with this is we can just go ahead and hook the Spring Guardian. If he has a combat trick and whatever, I don't care. and then his blocks with the Codger aren't good. It either just loses to Kahiri, or it it just eats damage in front of the researchers, and he takes this full damage hit here. Oh, just no trick. Wow, I was expecting to get something out of that challenger. Okay. I was like, are we just gonna immediately draw more +3/+3s? We can't play Ice Pillar for a few turns. I'm leaning towards just like adding the Inner Sanctum Zilean, and then next turn being able to play the Inner Sanctum cards onto Trundle. So we're pretty far away from reputation and getting this down on the cheap. Ooh, Spiral Stairs. That's not good ever. All right, so here's one of our boosted units in the Wolf Rider. Perfect. So how do we feel? Do we want to add the Wolf Rider, or do we want to add Trundle? Leaning towards just adding the Wolf Rider. The mana gem's not that big of a deal. We can't play a Ice Pillar next turn anyways. So I think this is good. This would be strong. Okay, so what you got? I think we want to start with the Challenger. He already had Overwhelm and Quick Attack. Okay. I was hoping to get like a Spell Shield or something going on this, but I think this is safe. He has a lot of ways to get out of this combat with the Scattered Pod. I don't think this is successful like super often, but most of his combat tricks here should be protective cards, like giving bonus health, and so we should at the end of the day just have like a 7/1 Wolf Rider if that's what it comes down to. Time bombs are quite interesting against this deck. Maybe we can get this on board after he's left with a bunch of 1 health units. So let's start with Trundle and see what happens. Also lets us just make a big Siphoning Strike if we want. Okay. Good with these combats. I'm not sure why you'd want to just hook Zilean, but okay. Sure. Still doesn't feel like anything worthy of a Siphoning Strike. I mean, the strike is good when we have Trundle, but at a 4, the 4 will take down Zilean. That's okay. I think I do feel good about the Siphoning Strike now. We can just do it next turn, but it's nice to drop it now while he just doesn't have any mana. Do you have this Inspired Martial Ice Pillar combo if he was already down? Get some good attacks in with the Pillar. Oof. Oof. Holding all kinds of 8 drops. Oh, goodness. Right, I doubt there's a reason to just add the landmarks. I mean, at this point, we could look to just like Time Bomb to get this unit off the board. So I'm not real sure why he's just passing back to us. What does that indicate? Like a barrier? Like a double barrier? Who cares? 1 for each 8 you behold, so we'll get +2. Yeah, Trundle goes up to 9. Yeah, when you make the attack look like that, we have to time bomb this. Oh, we don't have enough mana. Oh, snap. Quick attack challenge, Kahiri. Okay. Okay. Homecoming. Sure. Alright, so let's make a landmark, summon a random landmark with countdown. Okay. See ya. He was probably so hyped he actually got to play the Seeds of Strength. Oh, that makes my day. No hate on this guy. Sometimes you just end up with Seeds of Strength in your deck, but that card is garbage. have fun playing that Malphite Lab of Legends and just being stuck with Seeds of Strength all throughout your decks. But okay, well, these trades are bad. We don't want any of these cards, really. There's stuff I could trade away, like the Curator for the Inner Sanctum, I would do it, but I'm never trading away the Researchers, and all these cards we're able to pick up are just too weak. So we'll skip over that one. Oof. Oh my gosh. Oh, I'm getting old. That was more challenging than I expected it to be. I'm just getting myself adjusted. Oof. All right, what do we got here? Let's see how much we can bitch about Kindred throughout the course of this game. All right, so not the greatest of starts. I think I'm okay to hang on to Avalanche. I'm still good to get rid of the Kindly Tavern Keeper, though. I want to be looking for our Ancient Preparations and our Chronomancers, our earlier plays here. Got a Chronomancer. Okay, then I'm kind of leaning towards just like not playing any cards this turn, since we do have the Avalanche for his turn. Let's just pass. This would have been a good spot to have an auto pass if that was a thing, but do we still just go for it? I mean, our Chronomancer can survive an Avalanche and we can play it next turn. I think this is okay. Pick up Rockhopper.
We can always rely on you to keep us safe.
All right, then the slightly awkwardness. We just want to like, even if we just like fully bank, we can't do anything next turn. I think we got to kind of let this Curator or let this Avalanche go for a bit. But these are getting to be such good Avalanches if we just like held back our board. It's just like I'm wanting to go all in on it and Inner Sanctum plus Curator this turn. If we can hit like a quick attack, take down this Wanderer, it's also good. Oh man, we can't do that. We can't. Oh, those bust mathematics coming back to get us. Okay, I'm happy enough with this now. We'll get a good Avalanche next turn. There's a world where he doesn't just open on us because we have the good block on his action. Oh man. Oh man. One-time dealer. Doesn't deal damage to players anymore, unfortunately, as we pick up the Wolf Rider. Oh man, overwrite this Roiling Sands. Do me a favor, bro. Alright, well, he's gonna open on us here, unfortunately.
I go! I go! Woohoo! Villains beware.
So can we get him to add more stuff? like, it's like I'm kind of looking at this and it's like, well, I want to play Wolf Rider, and it can survive an avalanche. Okay, let's see how this plays out. We potentially just found like a spell shield out of this as well, or like a tough. I was thinking of quick attack as a way. I think the challenger is probably the one we want though. Or do we just go ahead and pick up tough? Okay. Get him. LOL. That's what it's all about. And a Fury of the North. How do we get ourselves around this? We want him to play more cards. Yeah, let's be real. We have to open on this one. We can't get enough of this going. The big worry from here would be like a Vicar and Bruiser. We don't have an answer to a bigger unit, but we can play the Ancient Prep and Clockwork Curate it and call it a day. Good to just pick up Trundle. I think so. He's pretty good here. He's about to be in the flip territory.
Greed'll turn any man into a monster.
Here we go. This is looking good now.
Rob 'em blind.
Here's the flip. Cool. So then we can also follow up with this 5/5 Yeti. We can't end the game this turn, but this is quite the strong board compared to what opponent has. A bit more trouble. What do we think of just like siphoning striking here? So if we siphoning strike, and we can also just like try and challenge down the clock hand. I don't really like that. I think we ought to just play that a little bit slower. What if we do it like this? Yeah, I don't like that. Okay, just this one. We'll see if he blocks. I don't think this is like going to be successful like ultra frequently, but if it does, it's just like a game crusher. And if he has like a combat trick to try and save it, we can still like Ice Quake and Ice Yeti to interact with that guy. Oof. It's been so long since I've had one of these Trundles on the board. He used to be one of the most popular ones. I can't remember if they reduced his stats by 2. I think he used to be a 5/6, and then they dropped him down to 4/5, and then he really fell out of favor. So it's kind of one of these deals historically as to where the Aurelian Soul decks have like always been bonkers in Expedition, so they went and added just like a ton of cards to the card pool to dilute them, and then Trundle got nerfed, and then never recovered from that. They never went and recurated the card pool around that. Commander Ledros, ugh. Okay, we can block. Then I think the block we want to make is with our 5/5. There's he's taking our vulnerable, so we don't have a choice. I was gonna say at least that way we can try and overwhelm damage through him. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case. So where are we at here? We've got like let me see how much damage this Trundle attacks for. He's a 9. So 9, 11, 16. Okay. 0. So I can get out of this. It's not unreasonable to think that he can't have a life gain for 1 or a Spirit Fire. There's tons of ways for him to get out of this, but I don't want to give him the opportunity to put another unit on the board. But we got him. Nice. And this other Trundle. Yeah, we don't want Kahiris. These Icy Yetis we have are certainly things we'd like to trade away, but Usgar's okay as well. Whew, okay. Oh. Yeah, we haven't really got any of the late game that we want, but we at least got the interactivity and the good early game. I want to trade out these expensive, non-overwhelming late game cards for either Xenotype researchers or units with Overwhelm. That's it. We're looking pretty good at that point. Okay. Not a bad set of cards. It's the old Victor Draven. It's like I almost just want to add. I think we can just add the Curator, right? This is like our lowest value unit, and we just want to throw it in here and trade.
What do you make of that? I'm not sure.
Here comes Draven. We're well equipped to deal with Draven, though. You do have the best job, Draven. Okay, so yeah, I mean, if like we really want to take him down next turn, then we can try and like Fury the North through it. I don't think that's how I want to go about this. I'm not even like, I mean, our health is pretty high at this point, so just taking a Draven hit's not that scary. But we can try and make like Absolver plays at this point if we want. Don't think we're going to, but it's an opportunity. And we didn't have any of the cards we want. Let's just go ahead and start to pick up our top end here.
Whatever woke you up. Let's do this. Don't touch it.
Right, so now we'll get fully banked on this mana. We can add Stalking Wolf most definitely. If we pick up another 2, that will work. I don't really want to count on Stalking Wolf plus the Absolver, but Draven doesn't have quick attack on the defense, so he's a little bit easier to take down. Oh, we knew we weren't drawing a 2. We had the Augur in the background. Could predict a landmark for the elusives. No, we'll just continue to pick up our expensives. I suspect we're going to get like a big shutdown on the next turn with the Icy Yeti. Okay, this one's good. Then we'll keep the 2/4 back. Can contest a Draven attack. You know, makes them spend their spinning axes, but potentially get him. So he should be safe from this point forward. He can try and like up his attack, but there's no cards that'll give him additional health out of his factions. Is he gonna overdraw? That'd be pretty sweet, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Nah, barely got there. All right, so I mean, with this, I'm just looking to add the Scar Maiden Reaver this turn, the Icy Yeti next turn. Let's see where that gets us. I'd like to get the Augur down, of course, but we have some time for this, and we can wait and see if we can't hit that Behold before we get there. Oh, he did that because the Puff Cap's incoming. Okay, not spectacular for the Reaver here, given that he can Spinning Axe through this. And so we'll just throw the Xenotype Researchers in front of the Chumpwump. Surprised he's coming in with an attack. This Niandroid's going to be a problem, isn't it? I considered hooking it with that wolf in the sense that you would have to like spend spinning axes to save it, but I was just kind of like, it'll be okay. And then I forget he gets scary quick with all these spinning axe kind of cards. We can potentially frostbite it though, which could be important. So maybe that's the way we go about this. I don't think we want to open here. The Augur should still be a pretty safe attack. The next turn, we'll see if we can't frostbite the Niandroid. It's by no means prevents a lethal, but it should stop 4 or 5 damage out of this. Okay, it's like how much are we willing to just spend a unit for spinning axes? I think it's probably a little too dangerous to just send in the Yeti when he has the rear guard on the board. We'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We'll have 8 mana next turn. So we could Yeti Fury of the North if we don't play the preparations, but it feels like we might need this unit turn from now. Also gives us a chance to predict into. I think Brittle Steel is probably important to take, given how scary this Niandroid is. Okay. I do feel a little bit better now that we've got the 2 Frostbites for this thing. It's probably going to at least play a Hex Core upgrade, so we can wait 1 card before dropping the Yeti. Tough. Gonna get some damage in here, but these are all burst spells that are in his hand now, so can't stop the Niandroid indefinitely with just the Yeti. The Victor card was slow, so we could still play Yeti and shut it down, but we can't stop these burst spells. This is a slightly scary Victor. He's got the 5 health and tough now, so we can't take him down in combat. Ugh. Okay. This is what they commonly refer to as a problem. I don't think we'll be able to close this one out. And Overwhelm? Oh, jeez. I was planning on blocking him anyways, but I guess it makes sense. He's just all in at this point.
You are lost, yes?
It's all to one. Just try and save this brittle steel for next turn. Maybe that's a little greedy, but this overwhelm on Victor is not permanent. Oh, we hit a puff cap. I guess that that would have been a reason as well, but I think that game was done. I mean, maybe we should have just hooked the Niandroid and let Draven be, since we have like more ways to deal with Draven. I wasn't expecting to get blown out that quickly, but he did have a lot of tools in hand to make that thing big. Can we use you? I don't think so. This is the first time I've seen the Guardian show up. If you have 2 Yetis, summon me from hand to create a copy of me in your deck. No, we don't have any Yetis, so we're going to go ahead and hang on to all these. Okay. That game was exactly why I talk about having to take a Siphoning Strike, having to take some vulnerable cards. You can't let cards like that just run wild on you. You have to, if you're drafting Noxus P and Z, you can be pretty assured that you're going to come up with like a gotcha or an aftershock or something at some point. But with this deck here, you're counting on so few cards. You got to really be like, okay, I'm gonna come out here and take these interactive cards aggressively.
I need just a moment.
Okay. Block? No, not offering. All right, so I think we can just start with this. The idea is, I think I want to play Zilean here and just start to banking mana. I don't really care about losing Zilean in these combats. LeBlanc's annoying. Let's see if we can't find a Brittle Steel off of this. Avalanche is a good one here. Dang. It's like, how choice would that have been if he played another 2 health unit? We got options here. We can try and Brittle Steel some of this stuff. Depending on where his hooks go, we can just take 5 and full clear his board. I think this is good as well. Or, I mean, we have this Harsh Winds. I think this looks a little better. Even if this fails, we should still have a pretty good Avalanche turn from now. Let's say he has... Oh, he doesn't even have it. I was like, I wouldn't be surprised if he had like a weapon hilt for our LeBlanc. But beautiful. Do we add Trundle at this point? I mean, at some point we have to just do like get Kahiri on board, but we can play Kahiri next turn. He's so much worse now that he only has 5 health. It's so easy for opponent to be like, here's my Thorn of the Rose. You know? So. But, I mean, if he wants to make a block here for a trade and then play a Scorched Earth or something, I'm completely okay with that. We have the block here with the Sentry. This is fine. These are all okay to me. All right, well, we can't, yeah, he's at 3. We have the Absolver. We can just pass here. I was gonna say we can't get our Avalanche down anymore. Well, that should be like this. Let's see, he didn't have a trick the last time. Let's see if he doesn't have one this time. Nice.
The black rose blooms once more.
Oof. Alright, so that stuff's been dealt with for the most part. We can get like a 3 damage AoE if we want. I think we need to hold back on this Ancient Prep. Sigil of Malice, okay. And then just look to do like Avalanche Time Bomb. Downside to that is we can't get units on the board. Alright, we can safely start with the prep. If at worst we just get the time bomb to take down the Trifarian, I think that's okay. Let's pick up the Yeti for next turn. If we get a big... So if we get a big... what's this called? The big frostbite across all of his units. That would be good. I think I kind of want the Tavern Keeper here just to heal up a little bit. Or do we just go big with the Clock Hand? That seems kind of meh. Okay.
What was out there?
Okay, so we're not dead to the open. We just fought a 1. See if he's picked up that combat trick that he's never had up to this point. Nope. And we just have to heal. If he has a burn spell, then we're just so dead. Alright, a little worried about this. Not gonna lie. I think we can at least be somewhat greedy with the Icy Yeti. So we'll get the vulnerables on these small units. We can try and spread out challengers. Like I'm gonna start with the Icy Yeti and see if we don't hit a challenger or something with it, but we can also put like a challenger on the Tavern Keeper to try and bring down a Marauder. All right, let's keep it up. If we hit quick attack, then we can still take down the Reckoner. If we hit +2 health, nope. Those things aren't happening today. It's not even his Overwhelm unit. Okay. Does he finally have it? He's gone so long without having a trick. Okay. Assume he probably just drew that. Okay, interesting. I'm surprised he's not just trying to copy the Tusk Raiders instead of playing for value at this point. Okay, so how's this turn going to go? I think we're just dead to the open, right? The Reckoner is going to stun our 2/2. We can put... we have to just have to take Fury of the North. We can Brittle Steel one of these smaller units, but I don't think we ever win the game if we're playing Brittle Steels. Alright, squad, I'm a little worried about this. So it's going to be like the plan's like a Fury of the North into the Tusk Raider. We can block these 4/3 kind of units for a turn, right? Are we just dead though? Yeah, we're just dead. Okay. So a little unfortunate. I think this game, I mean, I'm sure we could have done something different in the sense that you know, we finished off against that deck with an Avalanche in our hand, so maybe we could have played one down, but it's one of these things where like AoEs are ultimately like they're so good in a game like Magic, the way that like the attack and the defense kind of phases work, where you only get to attack you know, like the once in a turn, but you always have the opportunity to play spells and stuff before the attacks happen, or you can attack and play spells after. It's kind of like in Runeterra, everything kind of has like pseudo flash, right? Where you can play units on both players' turns, and then there's kind of like the aspect of the open attack, and there's just like not a whole lot we can do about that open attack. And so it's like we have to like play the AoEs at weird times. And like I get that a lot of AoEs and magic are sorceries, so you can only play them on your own turn. But it's like I've always felt like really awkward about slow speed AoEs. It's like really tough to find a good place to drop them down. But I mean, this seemed like a reasonable deck to have them, though. Having these chronomancers and all the units that can survive them. We definitely weren't a deck that's just like jam packed full of rock hoppers that you just kill off all your own units with them. But at the end of the day, I thought this ended up about where I would have expected it. I felt like we could have traded this into the likes of a 7-win deck, but we just never really got the opportunity to trade out the cards that we want. Like one of the things that ultimately feels so awkward every time we draft Zilean is like I've drafted these Zilean decks that have like 4 Clockwork Curators and 0 landmarks in them. Like I don't get why they show up all the time. Like I get that they show up in these Zilean pools and they're in there since he's supposed to be doing stuff with landmarks, but like the only landmark he has to count down are his time bombs, and so that's just like you ultimately if you want to call that a failure of landmarks and the rock bears being so bad, it's like, in my opinion, you really only want a card like the Clockwork Curator in a deck with rock bears or a deck with the Lysandra Thralls in it. And so at the end of the day, like this deck, the numbers just didn't quite come together how I wanted. We didn't get the opportunity to trade out some of the cards that were kind of turdy, right? So ideally, we would have been able to get rid of like these Clockwork Curators, get rid of the Inner Sanctum, get rid of things like Psy Scout, and then up here in the top end, we don't really want these units that don't have Overwhelm. Like Usgar's fine since he can kind of come down and interact in a deck that's bad at interacting. Like he's good at just coming onto the board and just being like, well, if you can't answer this now, then I'm just going to win the game. That's kind of how 8-cost cards should feel. That's not how it feels with like the Clock Hand or Icy Yetis or Inspired Marshal in this particular deck. It's just like the top end that we wanted. Our Alpha Wild Claws, our Ruin Runners just didn't show up. And so like in that deck against the in the previous game or even in this one, you start to fall behind on board, but you can still win the game because you have so much attack power and overwhelms. It's kind of like the thing that you're trying to piece together, and we just weren't quite able to get the trades in that we needed to unlock this as a 7-winner. But as you could also see, like in that game in particular, the real weakness of Trundle only having 5 health now. Like again, he's a pretty easy champion to flip. You just have to have 8 mana and you can flip your Trundle, but like in a matchup like in that previous one against the 5 attack matters decks, it can be like okay to be like, all right, well, I'll throw my 6 health Trundle into combat, and if you have a trick and 2-for-1 yourself, then that's kind of okay. But you can't have these boards to where it's like I'm playing my Trundle and he can't block LeBlanc and he's just going to trade with a reckless Trifarian. Like the losing that point of health on him was pretty catastrophic. So that was a bit of downside there. The other theme we were looking to piece together was just having a bunch of Xenotype researchers. That's a fine theme, even if you want to discount that game where we just immediately drew the +3/+3 unit and it was on a 2-coster. that was pretty sick. But this is the only like real build around strategy as far as Zilean is concerned that I think is any good, is playing these researchers and then predicting your +3/+3 units to the top of your deck. And so at least with the researcher, she doesn't take any work, right? It's not like Kahiri the Redeemed, whatever the 6-cost one is, that takes a bunch of work to not be ass. It's just the Xenotype researchers are always good. And I think that would have been like the other avenue as to where we could have had a pretty decent 7 winners if we picked up 3 or 4 of these researchers. Again, I mean, it's a rare, so that's kind of a big ask, but that's where the strength in a deck like this would lie. But yeah, I think that's going to do it for us today. I don't think there's going to be any rewards to click on, and so that's going to be the end of it. And so I hope you all learned how to predict your ice quakes, predict your avalanches, predict the weather a little bit better. You maybe learned a thing or two along the way, had a good time watching. This is Bust, and we thank you for being here.